Hello, folks, and welcome to Boatrek Live. My name is PJ, and I have a special guest with me today, Marcelo. How's it going, Marcelo?
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, it's great to have you on, and uh, we were on a lively live stream last night on Text Trek discussing everything they showed in great detail at Star Trek Day 2021, the 55th anniversary of Star Trek airing on television, and they showed a lot, not as much as some of us thought. I know some of us thought we were going to get a trailer for Strange New Worlds. And let's start with that. I want to know your reaction to the casting and the uniforms.
I was very, very surprised that we had a mix of legacy characters by the name of Uhura and Nurse Chapel. I was extremely pleased with that. But as far as the uniforms go, I was a little bit upset and a little perturbed that they got rid of the chunky Discovery collar because I was a huge fan of that. But I do understand their their method by doing that. They want to get it as close as they can to what the original series looked like. But I've been hearing a lot of people online saying that it looks like the original. It looks like the original series mixed in with the Kelvin verse uniforms, specifically the Kelvin universe films from Star Trek Beyond.
I actually think the Kelvin Universe TOS uniforms have so far have been the best reimagining of those.
Mhm.
They look comfortable. That's the whole. See, my view of the TOS uniforms, even as a child, was that it's not militaristic. It's not form fitting and uncomfortable to because uniform. I was in cadets and I know people in the military. They always everything's very uncomfortable. And on a starship and Starfleet not necessarily being all that militaristic, even though they're a form of the military in the future, kind of, I guess. But I love the relaxed look of the TOS uniforms. And I love, that was one of the things about the reboots that I appreciated. When they got into Beyond, they started making them a little more, I don't know, form fitting and kind of like sleek. And that includes like the shoulder pads and just the basically really form fitting stuff that in actuality actors feel very uncomfortable in. Uh, so it's just a matter of comfort for me. Like I always thought it was more casual and relaxed than a starship. That the uniforms looked good and the colors and the everything represented something. Like they weren't just arbitrary costumes. They had a purpose. But now with Discovery, the reimagining of that era of uniform is all like choke collars and because those things are not
Yeah,
comfortable even for cosplayers. As it was Rachel
Rachel said last night. Yeah.
pointed out, and both Jason Isaacs, I think, and Anson Mount have stated like you can't really sit down. Like when you sit down, like if you let your kind of spine relax and
Mhm.
your belly come out, like it'll probably like break the uniform, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the Strange New Worlds uniforms, I think, are a good compromise. Uh, it seems
yeah.
between the
My
uncomfortable and loose.
my reaction to the strange new worlds sort of new uniforms are completely from a fan perspective. I'm not a cosplayer, so I don't know what it feels like to wear the big choke collar. I just like that from an aesthetic perspective.
It looks good. It looks sleek. I mean, it's a modern. It's a modern design that reflects this time because you think about like all the eras of Trek, the future clothing always somehow reflected the era at the time. Like uh, 80s future always had like super advanced 80s kind of style clothing. 70s was the same way. It was like they took 70s design and made them like basically a lot of costumes in Trek are just like far out fashion designs, and that's always been the case. And yeah, it's I know that I see that they're trying to be more TOS, and I appreciate that in terms of Spock. I don't like how big Spock's shoulder pads are, though. The shoulder pads can work, but sometimes I don't know. On him, it just this whole chest area doesn't look it looks too bulky or something. Like not in terms of his muscles, but like just the way it's designed. Uh, Doctor, I forget the name of the doctor. Mbata. He's from the original series.
Yeah,
He's
Mbata or something.
yeah, uh, played by Babs. I like his uniform. They say it's white. I think there's blue there. There's some. I can see blue in that. Nurse Chapel's uniform is like very reminiscent of the Discovery design of yeah.
The
So,
other thing that bothered me slightly, and this is my last two negatives that I have about the Discovery uniforms. You just mentioned the shoulder pads. The thing that in modern Star Trek has been driving me up a wall as far as Star Trek on TV, and this for me is hard to say because you know how much I love the current iteration of Star Trek on TV. I I don't understand their obsession with putting deltas all over the place. Like for example, I'm not like the shoulder pads don't bother me, but the thing that really sort of ticks me off a bit is to have the little delta insignias within the shoulder pads. And um, the last thing that I would like to say about the uniforms is that I was a little bit upset that there was so many different variations of uniforms on the ship, like 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 from medical to command. You know, like okay, pick one uniform. Pick one general style of uniform, and then split them up into their command colors. But I don't. I'm not.
yeah, it seems a little pre TOSy that
Yeah.
way, where it's maybe they're not at that point yet, and then they know this is like the Discovery verse because Discovery started it all, right?
Hmm.
So they want to kind of keep in line and maybe transition away from that gradually, I think.
So
But I mean, yeah, it's like number one has this like open collar kind of
yeah.
turtleneck thing that
Hmm.
looks different from any other uniform that we
Yeah.
see. Uh, yeah, it's a very like I'm not sure what's going on there. Uh,
Yeah.
I like the red uniforms. Anything red in that like that really pops to me. And I am technically colorblind, which means I don't see in black and white or anything. I just have a hard time seeing certain colors, and sometimes I get red confused with orange, or I get pink confused with green or gray, which is weird. I have two types. I was tested, and they're like, it's not like so cut and dry. I'm really messed up with colors, and sometimes when colors are really rich, I see them very clearly, and I notice the reds on those uniforms pop. So
Hmm.
I love the
Yeah.
reds.
Yeah. So do you think that the variety of uniforms that we have everyone wearing, at least in our main bridge crew, is intentional by the producers, like to sort of hint that eventually we're going to get to that point where we have one style of uniform for everybody in their proper command colors eventually.
If they're smart about it, that's what they would do because that's what we expect. I mean, it like the way Pike came in season 2 of Discovery, they didn't necessarily have to adhere to the cage continuity so much. That's something you can kind of like look past.
Yeah.
But that's why people are like, oh well, the Enterprise doesn't look like it did in the cage. I'm like, well, yeah, okay,
Yeah.
it's a different Enterprise. Sure, it could be redesigned, and it's been slightly redesigned. You can see some differences in the background that Uh, but yeah, it's I don't know. I lost my train of thought.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
the other thing that I particularly liked is that um, the young woman who is going to drive the ship, the helmsman, her first name is Erica, and someone in my personal life who is also called Erica had a very, very interesting effect on me. So when I saw her name pop up, I got a little sarcastic smile on my face.
I think she's like Sulu before Sulu,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Ahura. That's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. That when that reveal showed up, that got the biggest pop from me in my reaction that I did that I'm not going to post anywhere for reasons. Um, I'm very very interested to see if Akiba Goldsman said something very very interesting in the actual panel. He said that they were going to explore. Well, he didn't say this, but he had said something to the effect of they're going to explore the interpersonal relationships of these characters that we love so much. And I, for one, who doesn't hold canon in too much of a high regard at all, I love that. I really, really do.
Speaking of canon, there's an issue I couldn't quite process last night that I was trying to get everybody to point to, and we talked about it a bit, but we didn't really get into
What was it?
the implications of it. There's a Noonien Singh
Uh,
on board the Enterprise while Spock is there. When you think about that, is it
kind
one
of
of these
blows your mind,
Cybok
doesn't
things where he just doesn't care to mention it later on? Like, Captain, this Noonien Singh guy, even in Space Seed, like, yes, his great great granddaughter or whatever, great 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 granddaughter, or whatever. I don't even know who, like, really who she is, but her name is An Noonien Singh, and it's like it actually rhymes with Khan, An. But it's weird. It's like you have and like when I know we have to like a suspension of disbelief. Oh, why wasn't this mentioned in Space Seed? Why wasn't it brought up in? It's like the Burnham thing where like why didn't Spock ever say he had a sister? Apparently, Spock keeps a lot of very vital information to himself.
Yeah, that would have helped, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
I
for
don't know.
me, look. If I was writing this thing and I look, I say that I don't care. I'm not attached to canon, but I am aware that there are people like you and there are a million other people that go nuts with one little specific name drop. So if I was writing the show, I would probably hint at her being connected to Khan slightly, but I wouldn't outwardly say it.
Okay.
um or if I wanted to or if I wanted to push or if I wanted to piss everybody off, I would just say, you know what, her name is her name and she's not connected to anybody, and I would let all of you go crazy. But um since I've been in the Star Trek online community over the past year or so, I would probably go with the latter, my first option.
Okay. Um. Anything else about that cast that stood out to you?
um I wanted Dr. Boyce.
Boyce.
Yeah. And I don't need to I don't even need to say who I wanted for it. Um
Who did
I want
you have someone in mind?
yeah, but it's like the most
Jeffrey
obvious.
Combs.
Yeah, it's the most obvious question.
You know what
You
my
know,
choice was?
who?
Kevin Bacon.
Wow, that's okay. I can't quite see that, but that's an out of the box
I
choice.
can see Kevin Bacon being that old doctor and like have a drink with me, Pike, and yeah. I
Hmm.
mean, I don't know. He was old in 2254, I believe, is when the cage takes place.
Uh,
2254.
Yeah, I'm not good with
I
Star Trek.
I think it's 20. Just I could be wrong, but this is like 15 years later or something. So maybe Boyce is moved on
Off somewhere
in
else.
one
Yeah.
way or another.
Right.
But he could certainly come back, and I know they haven't announced any of this kind of casting, but I mean, I'd love to see Robert April show up at some point. It's
That
like,
would be cool.
Pike, how you taking care of my ship or something like that. Admiral, the Admiral comes aboard.
Hmm.
Uh, but Uhura, do you think they might pursue a whole Spock and Uhura thing, like that kind of reflects what the Kelvin movie did?
For me personally, I hope they do. But I know if they do that, that's gonna piss off a whole bunch of people. So, in my opinion, for my personal happiness, I would love for them to sort of pay homage to the Kelvin storyline idea and have them explore a relationship to some extent. How long that relationship goes, what happens at the end of that relationship, I leave up to Akiva and all of the writers on the writing staff.
Um, I'm not sure. Maybe they might not do that. But do you think? I don't think. Yeah, maybe Uhura and Spock. Oh, T'Pel, is that her name?
To
From
to
God, I'm
Paul, yeah,
forgetting.
to Paul.
No, not
It,
not.
it, no, no, no.
Who's the in the original series? There was a girl Spock was supposed to marry.
Oh,
Uh, God damn, what is that? We talked about it last night, but
yeah,
father he didn't
yeah.
want to get into it because he thought it might be a
The spoiler that he wouldn't reveal. Trek. What is it? Trek culture.
To
Yeah, to
Pring,
praying. Yeah,
to Pring.
it will be
Hard to
like
remember
again.
Vulcan names.
Yeah, yeah. Like like I said, I am very, very, very open to whatever story the Star Trek Strange New Worlds writing staff and producers want to tell me. I'm like the because I love current Star Trek, so I'm not going to be that that you know obsessed fan that says, "Oh, you can't do this because that doesn't track with canon." I'm going to be more accepting of whatever it is they're going to do. Um,
I don't mind fudging with canon as long as you have a damn good reason and it's good storytelling. You
yeah,
can
yeah,
forgive a lot of things. It's only when things are bad do you nitpick all the like. What is it with time travel? Like I get sick of it. I get sick of hearing anytime anything I like does that or goes there.
Mhm.
Loved it as a kid, but got just really sick of it. But usually now it's like if it's entertaining and good, I don't care about the convoluted time travel paradox slash alternate thing that doesn't make any sense. Avengers Endgame was probably the best film to ever try to explain it in some coherent way, right? But
Yeah,
Braxton says a love triangle between Uhura, Spock, and the nurse. Nurse Chapel in the original series was always kind of pining over Spock. She was in love
yeah,
with him,
hmm
and maybe years ago, they like dated a bit and actually hooked up.
hmm
And Spock was just like, I can't. And he breaks it off. And she just, for years, for like 7 years, is like pining over him. And, but
yeah. No, actually,
who
a
knows?
relationship between Spock and Nurse Chapel would be interesting. But here's the thing that I really want to see that's going to set the. I got to stop poking because somebody's going to kill me. Um, I would love to see a relationship between number one and Captain Pike. So I don't. Again, I as a writer, I acknowledge that if I do that, 100 fans are going to possibly, want to have me burned at the stake. But I'm a writer, and if I was writing Star Trek, I would want to write the stories that I've always wanted to see, and I would figure out a way to justify them within canon, as you know, in a way that made sense, like you just said. Um, so, yeah,
Maybe. I
yeah,
mean, Pike. I I think talked like I keep saying we talked about this last night, but they don't know unless you've seen the text trick thing. By the way,
no.
check that out after this one. But it, it's like I personally don't want them to do any kind of exploring Pike's love life. They could do an episode or so where he's like he tries dating,
Hmm.
but I mean, it makes it all that more special when he uh
When he doesn't get attached to anybody,
it's
and he's
like I'm forgetting her name from the cage, but
yeah, and he's only attached to Vina.
Vina, like it's like
Yeah,
Vina is like the one
yeah,
true, and like it's all about duty for him, and like I like the idea of him being like just completely committed. It's kind of like how Picard was, but Picard, he got a little action here and there, so
yeah.
yeah,
No, and the last thing that I will mention, I'm really happy that Una has a full proper name now. I'm really cool. I'm really pleased about that.
yeah, she has
Yeah.
Una came from the books and stuff.
Yep, that's right. She did.
In the first Star Trek Discovery book that introduced Pike and number one, she was called Una. I don't think
Yeah.
they said her last name.
No, they didn't actually. Actually, I've read all those books, and they're really really fun, especially if you want to see the adventures of Michael Saru and our prime universe Captain Giorgio before the Battle of the Binary Stars. Those, I mean, they're not canon, but they're nice. They're a nice little experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go into the Prodigy trailer, which was beautiful looking. It's I can't say much for the characters and like how they are because the dialogue is kind of like just like paint by numbers, like sayings. The pew 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 stuff was kind of cool, I guess. But I mean, for me, it was just all about the visuals. Like, you know, it just looks so good.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. The way that the Star Trek Prodigy trailer looks, I mean, it looked beautiful, but as as Fathery pointed out last night in our little conversation, Star Trek since Discovery has been visually going up with every series that they produce. So having pristine, beautiful visuals in Star Trek, at least moving forward, is going to be standard. The one thing that I really, really latched onto that I didn't say last night because last night was a little bit like the Wild Wild West. I couldn't believe how much the ship that the kids are on looks like the Voyager. Specifically, uh, there are various shots in the show that you see the undercarriage of the ship, and I'm not a ship guy, so for me to say, "Oh my God, that thing looks exactly like the Voyager," and I know it's not, but that's what stuck out to me the most, and the "Oh my God" moment for me was hearing
Kate
Catherine
Mulgrew.
Janeway again. I was like,
Yeah. Uh, I noticed you do sense a little age in her voice, slightly. But I mean, that's unavoidable. I mean, you sound different as you age. And, but I think from what I can, the little bits of dialogue from her, it's like, yeah, that's right.
yeah.
That's there's nothing off about it. Some people have complained about the way Riker sounds in Lower Decks. He's too like
Ugh,
hyper and up, and it's like Riker doesn't have those inflections in live action, and it's like well, Lower Decks has to kind of like you know
yeah. Yeah, no,
animate the voice to
no,
match the animation basically.
yeah, yeah. Lower decks is like Star Trek on on all sorts of trippy drugs. So if you're a Star Trek fan, I'm not going to tell you how to think, but you might not want to take Lower Decks too seriously. Just have fun with it, guys. Come on. But yeah.
And by the way, we're getting a premiere date for Star Trek Prodigy, October 28th.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. Did that come out today somewhere? I had no idea about that.
No, we talked about that last night.
Last night. Oh yeah.
They did at the end of the trailer. It says October 28th.
Oh,
Pretty
cool.
sure. I'm doubting myself now. Yeah, October 28th. Which would be 1 week after Lower Decks season 2 ends. So there'll be a week break, and then Prodigy, and then Star Trek Discovery season 4, November 18th. I had no idea. I could not predict that the shows would overlap. I think I could be wrong, but Sean from Trek in the Tube said that a few times. He's like, I think they're going to overlap two of the shows. I'm not sure which ones he mentioned, and I was like, no, they can't do that. I mean, they want to stretch out the subscription thing, and it's like, I don't mind that. People say like YouTube is like extra work, extra work. My advice is take your time with it. Then don't force yourself to put out a video at a certain time. It's understandable if there's 2 Trek shows overlapping in the same week and you want to cover them both. Why not? Why not do a stream where you hit 2 birds with 1 stone?
Right. But I have so much respect for people like you, Fathery, and other people within the Star Trek universe that actually cover this stuff. But the one thing I would like to tell them in a nice manner, because what I was going to say last night would sound really cynical and kind of bitchy. Take your time with make videos, work on your own schedule. Don't necessarily work on the schedule that you think would get your channel most clicks, or don't think that you need to do this video now because it's in that window. So
and another thing too, I know with Sean, and I'm not trying to get into like his personal stuff, but whatever. But in terms of work ethic, he lives a life, and then he writes and he analyzes and he does he does very difficult work, and like Fathery, and I am nothing like those guys in terms of having the patience to go through screenshots. I do it sometimes, but like my thing is I just want to talk about what happened, and assuming anybody who's watching has seen it all anyway. So, and another thing too, like showing too much copyrighted material for me in Canada is a bit of an issue sometimes. I get copyright claims, not necessarily strikes, and I'm like, really? And some I've protested and it's been cool. But I mean, like last night I did a stream and pointed the camera at the Strange New World stuff for a second just to give a visual reference of, and it was like, nope, gone. Not gone, but claimed, and I could have, but I was like, I don't care.
Yeah, no, my, just to go off on a little tangent here, my videos that I do on my channel, I only use visuals. I don't use any kind of actual video or things like that. So I personally have never gotten a copyright notice from CBS because I haven't started covering Star Trek on my channel yet. So when I start doing that, I'll have to see if that happens to me. But I'm gonna cover 90s Star Trek, so I don't think that the bots will come after me for talking about 90s Star Trek.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no, but I'm excited for Prodigy, but like I said, it's a kids show, so I'm excited, but I'm like, okay, I'll watch this because I'm a Star Trek fan, but I'm not like, oh my god, this is gonna be the best show ever.
And it's interesting because if you have a fan who watches Prodigy and they're like, it's okay, but I'm more waiting for Discovery. Yeah. They don't have to wait until Prodigy is complete. Like maybe their kids could watch Prodigy and if you're not into it, Discovery comes along, and then when Prodigy's done, you can just binge them all and see what that was like, and you probably end up loving it. It's like the overlapping now is really starting to make a bit more sense to me, and because if you have something that's not specifically and only for kids, but it is targeted toward kids, that's what a lot of people don't understand. People bitch, want to complain. Well, Star
Bitching
Trek
all.
has always been for kids. I'm like, actually, the original series was quite adult.
Yeah,
The animated series was too cerebral for a lot of kids, even for
yeah.
me. I remember watching the TOS animated series and being like, I liked how they did more like creatures and stuff, but I didn't really appreciate it until I was an adult. And yes, as TNG was the one from a little kid that made me love Trek, but that was very family friendly in general. Conspiracy notwithstanding, but uh, I mean, but I understand the whole wanting to market, sell toys. They want to sell the little Murph toys, and they want to sell the little Rock Talk action figures and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a business. They want to make money, and they want to then take that money and invest in more Trek, like synergy. Like it's fine. But I don't want. My only fear is like I don't want Prodigy just to be a product. I want a kid to watch it and learn some lessons and morals that maybe their parents aren't necessarily teaching them.
No, I do think that I mean one of the showrunners from Prodigy said last night that in their approach to writing the show, this is all kind of stuff I wanted to say last night, but I couldn't for some reason.
Well, this is why you're here now.
Yes, sorry, sorry,
It's
sorry.
awesome. Well, no, no, this is great. I love having you here, man.
Um, one of the key things that I drew on from one of the showrunners of Star Trek Prodigy, who said last night, when they were actually writing the show, they wrote the show in such a manner that won't talk down to children. It will, like you said, it will educate children, and it will teach them moral stories and moral ideals uh, that they can take into their teenage years and hopefully their adult years. For us, if this show will do anything for us on a moral grounding, because I don't have a lack of a better word right now, I think it will remind us why it is that we love Star Trek from a ideal perspective.
Yeah.
Um,
Or from a
uh,
more innocent, less downer kind of modern Trek perspective. Like it's safe. That's what I like. That's one of the things I like about the idea of Prodigy, that I know it's going to be safe.
yeah, yeah,
Not
yeah.
in terms of like I need to be sheltered in my safe space. I just mean like I know it's something I can play, and I mean, Lower Decks bleeps out all their. Just imagine if Lower Decks didn't bleep. I mean, it would be a
Oh
show
my
you
god.
could not play in the background at all in like a family setting. But I mean, yeah, I think
Yeah.
I hope producers and creators, they say a lot of stuff, and I've been duped quite a few times, and so I'm genuinely hoping that those words that those
Are
guys
real.
said are real and genuine, and gives me some confidence.
Yeah. Um, one moment that really got the nerd juices going in my soul last night, and this specifically is because I'm a writer. On the Star Trek Discovery panel, when Michelle Paradise came out on stage, I had the biggest. I was like, "Oh my god, it's Michelle!" For some reason, I went nuts because I love the way that woman has worked in a synergistic relationship with Alex Kurtzman and the direction that they are taking the show. I don't agree with everything that they've done. For God's sakes, I do not agree with everything that they've done. But I really think that they're taking Star Trek Discovery into a wonderful place and a optimistic place. Um, if that makes any sense. Sorry, I kind of just steered
Yeah,
us right
yeah.
into.
I know what you mean. I I think she helps Kurtzman.
Hmm.
Uh, I don't know if like it's a mentor thing because they're basically equals
Yeah,
in terms of like mutual respect and whatnot. But
right.
yeah, I mean,
No, I just
producers are
no.
producers,
Yeah,
and
writers are writers.
I'm interested in the product.
Yeah,
I know it's bad to say product. I
it's
should
like
say I'm
yeah,
interested in the art
yeah,
that they present. There you
yeah.
go.
No, like for me, you know me. I'm a writer, so I'm gonna. I've said this a
Yeah.
million times on any stream that I've been on, whether it's with you, Starfleet Boy, or Father, anybody. I always come at Star Trek as an adult now from a writing's perspective first. So that's why sometimes if people let me, I will say shit like I just said. that don't directly correlate to the show, but if you're someone like me, you get it. Um but do you think that this the season 4 story for Discovery will be a little bit more focused and a little bit more streamlined in that we won't have too many storylines going on at once? Because I did think that the Michael storyline that we had last year, dealing with her trying to figure out whether she wanted to remain in Starfleet or not, and the Burn storyline happening as well, was a little bit too much and a little bit uh, uh, overstuffed, so to
If the,
speak.
if they haven't caught on to the fact by season 4 that the mystery box bull pardon my language bullshit does not work. I maintain that Discovery has great individual episodes, but their serialized, overarching, season long arcs suck. They simply suck. They can have segments of the season that work very well in episodes, like I said, but like the next mystery box I find in season 4. Now, season 4 seems to be the gravitational anomaly. That could be an episode thing. Who knows? Or could be just a chunk of the season. But if that's like a mystery box thing that they have to solve from beginning to end, I'm not going to be excited for it, and I will not anticipate a satisfactory conclusion. What I think is a smart move, and I think they're doing some of this, is the rebuilding of the Federation. I wouldn't mind episodes that aren't necessarily 2-3 episode stretch of non big bombastic blow up action. I wouldn't mind a few episodes that like, okay, we're gonna go to Navarre. We're gonna go down to Navarre and we're gonna have a thing there, and there's some kind of conflict, but it's all about like, building relationships. And the conflict would be somewhere along the line somebody trying to mess that up, not necessarily the Orion Syndicate or something, but some new thing. Uh, but essentially, I don't want it to be all like sunshine and roses and lollipops. But I mean, Discovery has to maintain that
Oh, it's not going to be. I can
no,
guarantee
it's
you
not.
that.
It's definitely not going to be. Yeah, it's. But I mean,
It's
I want Burnham to be just a damn good captain
yeah.
and have the respect for her crew
Oh
to
gosh, you
to
better
to
have it
ex- to
now.
ex- to ex- uh, to accept help and suggestion. And Burnham, this is
Yeah.
how her character has been the one where I know she's a know-it-all.
Hmm.
And I don't mean that in a disparaging way, because she's had to compete with Vulcans academically. So therefore, like that's a natural result. Her personality of I have to fix it. I have to be the one.
It's in her
The
DNA.
the savior complex, as book puts it, I think he said. Yeah, it's in her DNA. It's like, I
Hmm.
mean, her parents were geniuses, so there you go.
Hmm.
Um, so I think I really don't know what to expect. And here's the good thing. I was like, when are they going to show the darn Discovery 4 trailer? Because I want a good full story trailer. It gives me some sense of what it's about. Uh, and that other trailer was like months and months ago.
Hmm.
But the fact that they didn't show it makes me now hope that they don't show anything else.
No, I
because
don't
it's
want to
only
believe.
November 18th, which I did not expect at all. I was expecting end of the year or like early 2022, like Father he was thinking
Yeah.
2022 anyway, and I was like, maybe he's right, but I was hoping for 2021.
I was so happy he was wrong. Sorry.
Yeah.
Personally, I was so happy that he was wrong. Um,
So it was,
yeah. But I am, look, I've had my issues with Michael Burnham, of which some, but I hope that all the issues that I have with Michael Burnham now go away, because in season 4 she is going to be the captain now, and I really hope, like you said, she learns how to work with her family, so to speak, a little bit more synergistically than she has in the past.
and I liked, I love her character, and I love Sneak with Martin Green, and I
Yeah, no,
always understand how she rubs not only some of the people. I mean, I maybe everybody in the show loves her, but some fans are like, why, give somebody else a chance, Burnham. Stop trying to be like the savior. And the season 3 pokes fun of that a little bit too, which I liked. And that's the challenge. Like, how will she fare as a captain? Will she
well,
fail?
we're
Will
gonna
they
find
will
out.
they write her in a way where she's like, maybe I'm not all,
I, no,
no, she's gonna be a
if
good
they,
captain.
yeah,
I just
if they, sorry,
I'm thinking too much about it really. But anyway, go ahead.
if they do that, if the writers choose to make her fail, this is what I would do. Sorry guys, writer's brain. I would make her fail throughout the entire season in various ways, and then, to the, with 3 episodes left, I would finally have her learn the lesson that if she wants to be a good captain, she needs to work with her crew, and she needs to trust her crew to do the right thing. But they're not going to do that. So
I mean,
yeah, you never know.
Discovery is Discovery's a tricky one for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look,
I really honestly never know what to expect.
yeah. I mean, look, with me, I Discovery is very near and dear to my heart because it's Alex's baby. But I'm the type of fan that, although I love that man, I will call him out on the crap that he writes that bu- bug me. And so yeah, so I'm, yeah.
All right, let's talk about that darn Picard trailer, eh? Because that was something else.
Yeah, that was really fun. That was
I
really
am sick of time travel stuff, and it's always stupid and it never makes sense.
Yeah,
But
but if it's
if
fun,
if it's fun and it's a good story, not in terms of logic because that obviously wouldn't apply, but I mean, okay, in the trailer, for example, Picard's like, "We must go back and repair what the damage." It sounded oddly like exactly what he said in First Contact with the Borg. It's like we must go back, repair whatever damage they've done. It's like, I mean, from an outside perspective, I can see that somebody going crazy and being like, "You've done all this before." Okay, what were the writers thinking? Let's do Star Trek 4, First Contact, Mirror Universe, and it's like they wanted a mishmash of ideas, and by God, it sounds really dumb when I say it like that. But if they can somehow take all of those wonderful elements individually in Star Trek that may not work well together, if they can somehow like work with that and make it entertaining and fun, I can forgive a lot of convoluted bullcrap. You know what I mean?
mhm.
So
Hey, it's Star Trek. Star Trek has a lot of convoluted bull crap in reference to time travel. But I
yeah,
will,
there you go.
look. I will tell you one thing. I love time travel stories, and I'm not the type of person that looks too closely at time travel stories. I don't try to rationalize it in my head. I like a good time story, like a good time travel story, when it works well and it's fun. I acknowledge that there are going to be plot holes and things that don't make sense, but if I have a good time while I'm watching it, I don't give a shit about anything else.
So, what were the parts of the trailer that you liked?
I really like the fact that Picard is finally going to possibly tell Q to go f himself. But
Well,
look,
he says,
okay,
"I'm too
yeah,
old for your bullshit." It seems like he's gonna
yeah,
say.
yeah. One of the nagging issues that I had with Picard season one, and you know how I feel about Picard season one. I hated the fact that they had a specific Star Trek admiral basically cuss at Jean-Luc Picard. I don't have any problem with Jean-Luc Picard saying, you know, uh, you know, f this. I have a problem at high rank when high ranking Starfleet officials curse at Jean-Luc Picard. So, um, to have the possibility of him just saying something to that effect towards Q really, really makes me excited. I'm really excited to see how the relationship between um, um, Raffi and Seven progress. I'm really happy to see, oh my God, Dr. Girardi um, do something really, really stupid, but hopefully have a better plan
Yeah.
to, yeah. So
Um, I don't know why, but I keep thinking of Seven driving the car,
yeah, that's gonna
and
be awesome. You know how to
and
drive a spaceship, but you can't drive a car.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Girardi's like, "You guys need to something like, you need to communicate better," and they both say, "Rafi," and she's like, "Now you're in sync."
Yeah.
That
No,
was
but
an actual funny line. I didn't expect to laugh at a line in a Picard trailer. So there you go.
mm, mm. I've been very very vocal about how I think um Star Trek Picard season 2 is going to close some of the gaping issues that I had with with Star Trek Picard season 1. All due respect to Michael Chabon and what he did with Star Trek with Picard season 1, but there are certain little nagging issues of which I've said that I hope that Terry Metalis fixes and sort of heals. I mean, not fix, but heal for me. Um,
One thing I've noticed in the trailer, and I mean it's just a trailer, and I don't have a lot of context. Picard seems more Picard, doesn't he?
yeah. Hmm.
He seems less Patrick Stewart. I mean, people pointed out to me in season one, and I didn't agree with it at first because I always said aromatic syndrome. That's why he's different and all this, right? But if Q creates an alternate reality where everything's changed, the Picard now is no longer a synth. So they're not dealing with the synth issue, I don't think, as much like I thought they would in season two. So essentially, right
So
away, it seems
wait,
the whole him being a synth is undone because now he's in
oh,
his original body.
that would
Will
be wonderful.
will they bring up the aromatic syndrome again? I don't know. Either way, he seems more like an older, grizzled version of Picard than I seem to have observed in the first season. Now it's been a while since I saw the first
Mhm.
season, so
Yeah. No, but don't you think if Q would undo the Golem Star Trek Picard, wouldn't you think that he would take care of wouldn't you think that he would take care of the aromatic syndrome as well?
I would love for that to happen because I
Like,
wouldn't care. I know people would be like, "Oh
oh
well,
my god.
why did you do the whole thing with the?" You know what? I don't care if they dismiss season one, crumple it up, and throw it in the trash, and like don't
Yeah.
even
No.
continuity wise, I don't care. I mean,
Yeah.
Girardi now. I mean, I joked earlier that there's the shot of her being lured by the Borg Queen, and
Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, you got Girardi, psychotic, homicidal person who you can't trust and you shouldn't have trusted in season one.
Yeah.
Is she gonna do some backstabbing in this one? I certainly hope not. And I don't mind them changing her character to where she doesn't do anything nefarious and she actually is a huge help and she's funny and she's more giddy. She's the person in the trailer that gave me the laugh, which I totally didn't expect. And, Rafi and Seven. By the way, at the end of the last episode of season one, they had that shot where they're holding hands. And people were like, you didn't set that up. You didn't set that up. I'm like,
who cares? They get set up right there.
Here was my defense. That's exactly right. I was like, they didn't set it up. They didn't set it up. It's like, but that's the start of it. That's the setup. They're showing you at the end, and they threw that in, right? Like, I don't know whose idea it was.
At the last minute, I think.
Yeah, and we're like, let's explore this. And I was like totally cool with it. I fucking love that Rafi and Seven are a couple. I want to see their dynamic. I want to see their because they're not a happy couple. I mean,
No,
they
not.
probably are generally a happy couple, but they bicker, and that's grounds for some good comedic stuff. And they have a little journey in the past in the trailer, that little missions that they go and they steal a cop car, I think, and stuff like this. And I mean, that looks fun as hell, man. Like, that's what I liked about the trailer. I just don't want the actual show to mess up the promise of the fun that the fun that the trailer promises, is what I meant to say.
Look,
Yeah.
I'm not. Look, I'm. Look, like I've said on this live stream, and I've said pretty much on any live stream that allows me to, I have so much faith in the story that Terry Matalas is going to tell us, and I think that you, good sir, will enjoy this season way more than you did season one, because I know what season one did to you, and it wasn't cool.
It damaged my soul. No, I'm
Yeah.
joking.
Yeah, but I think that this season of Picard is going to be more of what we thought season one of Picard was going to be.
The change in the timeline is a big mystery. Why they have to go back to the 21st century is a big mystery, but it has something to do with something called the Europa Project.
Europe, interesting.
And that, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to speculate on any of it, but I mean, it's coming February 2022.
2022.
It's understandable that they didn't have a release date for Strange New Worlds. It's too early in production to tell. Or they're technically in post production now.
Yeah,
they
in
still could go back
post-production
and do reshoots or pickups and stuff like that. I think it's just gonna happen directly after
Picard.
I think
Picard. Okay.
we're essentially gonna have the year-round Trek thing now.
Yep.
They have the 5 shows to fill the year.
But do you look? I don't. I trust in Alex Kurtzman. I should make T-shirts. But do you think that the producers, not necessarily Alex, do you think that they're going to eventually bite off a little bit more that they can chew, and they're going to go past 5, like shows on the air?
No.
Okay, good.
I think, well, I can't remember when, but I remember like the goal was 5, and I think by the time, like, okay, Picard, they said, was announced for season 3, which we really knew anyway, because John Delancey spilled the beans like 100 times on his cameos. He's like, "Oh, I'm filming season 3 too." It was like, CPS was like, "John, we haven't made the announcement that it's been picked up," and they literally made the official announcement yesterday.
Stop it.
So like, no. John, it wasn't a surprise, but I think that's going to be the last, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Despite what Father E said last night, when that conversation came up last night, I gave it a 100% guarantee that season 3 of Star Trek Picard will be its swan song. It'll be done
Well,
after that.
I understand, but I think the point Father was making was that like technically, officially, they haven't said this is it.
Yeah,
Uh, but it's safe to. I think it's safe to assume.
it's safe to assume
It's
that
safe to assume.
this is going to be it. Yes.
And I mean, I was gonna say once Picard is out of the way, but but once that's done and over with, I mean it's either Section 31 or the Starfleet Academy show that Alex Kurtzman hinted at
I,
yesterday.
yeah, I would love a Starfleet Academy series, because of the people that are going to be behind it. They are the gossip girl creators. So I'm really interested. I'm really interested. Yeah, I'm really interested to see what Star Trek would look like in the basically teenager realm. I think that if any show will bring me more joy as a writer, because that's the stuff that I write. I think if the Starfleet Academy show showed hints of that, that would really give me all sorts of joy. But I know that would piss off a lot of people. So
I I would love a show like that, which I didn't really care for the longest time. But the more I think about it, and I want it to be like Picard time, like going forward in the timeline type of thing, where it's you focus on it's almost like some version of Lower Decks, not animated or anything like that, but like an actual serious show, a live action show, where you have a group of teens who are in the academy. Maybe some are like adults who start it late or whatever, but uh, where they're all cool. Like nobody's really a prick. I don't want anybody to be a jerk. I want them because they're raised in a world without want, and like you have to understand, like if you live in a society where there's no reason to have hang-ups, people will often not have hang-ups. And I know that was Gene Roddenberry's vision of like people are so copacetic and cool that they don't fight with each other and shit. I don't believe that, but I believe the drama shouldn't be as serious, or as like people shouldn't be like cheating and like and like that kind of reality show modern stuff we see now. I don't want to see that kind of teeny drama in it. I want the conflict to
to be
come
the
from other species that are incorporated into Starfleet Academy
there
who
we go.
have like different values that don't necessarily correlate with, and it's all about like not Starfleet officers judging like this Ferengi for having some kind of sexist views or something. It's all about like bridging the gap and trying to understand each other, as opposed to like canceling. Some alien comes in who's like all has like radical views and stuff. It's like, why are you even in Starfleet? We should
Oh,
cancel you.
oh hell no,
I'm gonna blast you on Starfleet social media and get you kicked out of here.
no.
But instead be like, sit down and talk to the person you don't agree with and learn compromise. My fear is that they would make it too like modern. They would make it
Um,
like Riverdale Star Trek style.
that would that would scare the crap out of me if they did that. But I think what you just said, if the writers took it down that angle and made the conflict within the show come from species that interact with our main cast from Starfleet Academy, I think that could work. It would be really cool if they set this series within the timeline of Discovery, if they want to push it forward, and if they want to get it out of the way of everything else. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. No,
Any
I
others?
mean,
No,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Go ahead.
No, no, no. You go ahead.
No, the other thing that I would love to see is um, give us a Star Trek show without any Star Trek legacy characters, without anybody from the main cast connected to anybody in Star Trek that we've seen previously. I would love to see a Star Trek show about a ship, a medical frigate that helps civilizations um, uh, basically resettle after something devastating has happened to their planet because of something else.
Yeah, and as the shows go on and shows end and they announce new ones, there are going to be all kinds of. I think they're going to just keep uh, kind of diversifying what Trek can do because that seems to be their motto. They just don't want to do the Enterprise on the thing. We have that now with Strange New Worlds, and some people think that negates the possibility of an Enterprise E or F or something. But I think that's still possible, and that's a show. I think if people announce like a new crew of the Enterprise post Picard, like in Picard's time, what's going on with the Enterprise,
Yeah,
and they could certainly have the opportunity to hint at that or show that even in season 3 of Picard. That would be a show that I would love, but I maybe Strange New Worlds will kind of fill in
yeah,
that Enterprise show gap.
right. I think, look, if anything, I think that Strange New Worlds has the. I'm going to sound really pretentious as hell. I think Strange New Worlds has the opportunity to sort of unify the Star Trek fan base, at least for a little while. And
Well,
I
the
would,
continuity and sync thing is
oh God,
pissing a lot of people off. I don't know about that.
oh, see, I
I
see.
mean the I'm sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
say
that's
con.
okay.
I
No,
meant to
no.
say on Nooney and Singh.
Yeah, yeah. But I what I love about this new iteration of Star Trek, and I've said it multiple times, there is a different flavor of Star Trek for everybody. And we didn't have that in the 90s. We didn't have that with the movies. So uh, to end this live stream on a more positive note, I think that aspect of the way that Star Trek is being made today is particularly wonderful and amazing that we have that nowadays.
Yeah, I totally agree. And that was a great way to end it because we've gone an hour, and I think that's the perfect time. Uh, I think this, just to give credit to myself and Marcelo, I think this was a very good discussion. We didn't cover everything about the day, only the things that we're interested in talking about. And I think I really thank you, Marcelo, for coming on here and talking to me. I really appreciate it.
No, thank
And
you so much
just
for thinking of me.
b- before we go, can you tell people where they can find you?
Yeah, I have a YouTube channel called Balloon Head Productions where I do videos on uh, the original Mission Impossible series, Doctor Who, Smallville, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I also have two podcasts. One is the Red Wall Podcast. That's a podcast that is really, really personal to me. So if you really, really want to know what makes me tick, you can go over there and find it on whatever podcast service you use to listen to podcasts. But the podcast that I really want to hype up right now is my second podcast. It's basically Radio 815. Um, and it's a podcast dedicated to examining the overall universe of J.J. Abrams. And that podcast will celebrate its 1 year of existence tomorrow. So, for anybody who has listened to that podcast at any point in our history, I really, really, really appreciate it. So, and if you want to come on Twitter and scream at me, I'm at CreekFanatic88. And please come and scream at me. Come and make my day miserable because I love shit like that.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And
Yeah.
until next time, folks, live long and prosper.